Fox Soul was set up as a platform for Black voices, right?
Yeah.
So it encourages people to speak out.
It's just, I'm just so bored of seeing white people say how sorry they are and how sad they are that, that we're excluded. And he said it to a room full of white people as he accepted the award for Best Film, where there was no competition. It was just one, white film, white film, white film, white film. And he accepted the award, so thank you very much, I accept this award, but it's terrible, isn't it, that, people of color are excluded. I think it's wrong. And then all the white people in the audience clapped and said he was wonderful and brave. And what has changed? Like, what have they done?
So actually, in fact, I was kind of scared.
Throw it up, throw it up. Throw it up, throw it up. Trini, about to set this place on fire. Throw it up, Trini, yell.
The last time we spoke, I don't know if you remember, it was at the Caribbean Tales Mixer at TIFF in 2019. It was before the pandemic.
Okay.
Could you tell us about Caribbean Tales, what it's about?
Sure. Well, it's great to be here with you again, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on.
It's my pleasure. So Caribbean Tales is a multifaceted company. My background, I'm the founder and the CEO. My background is before starting Caribbean Tales, I worked as a producer, drama producer at the BBC in England. Okay. And when I left the BBC, I wanted to start a company that would, be like the BBC, not that, very ambitious, but that would be like the BBC, that would create content, make content, market content, and sell content, but from our perspectives, our stories, Caribbean stories. So I started Caribbean Tales. And so Caribbean Tales is a group of companies that offer a pipeline of services. So we train filmmakers. We have a training program called the Creators of Color Incubator Program. We produce content. So we make films and television programs. We show content. So we have a number of film festivals. The Caribbean Tales International Film Festival is 16 years old now, going into its 17th year. We also have the Cinefam Film Festival for women of color. And then we also have the Windrush Caribbean Film Festival, which is based in the UK. So we have a number of outlets to show films. And then we also distribute films. We monetize films. We sell films through Caribbean Tales Worldwide Distribution and Caribbean Tales TV, which is our VOD platform. So that's some of the work that we do. Yeah.
So how would a person that's an independent filmmaker go about reaching out to you and getting their work distributed?
Well, the way to do that is really to contact us at caribbeantales@gmail.com and let us know about the film, and then we'll get back to you. We acquire a number of films for worldwide distribution. We also acquire a number of films for our VOD platform that are available for screening online. And we also do theatrical releases in Canada of Canadian films.
Okay, so could you tell us a little bit about your background? Are you from the Caribbean?
Yeah, I'm from Trinidad. My parents were both Trinidadian. I grew up in Trinidad and went to school there until I was 18. And then I left Trinidad. I went to England.
Okay. Yeah, my dad's from Trinidad.
Where are you from?
I'm from Grenada.
Okay. Very close. Very close.
Yeah, yes. Very close.
Yeah.
So what attracted you to the world of television and film producing?
Well, my training was in theater originally, and I trained as a theater director. I was attracted to television because of the reach, really. I felt like, that with television and film, you can reach a lot more people than, and it was the new media at that time that you could reach a lot more people. And so I went back to school and I studied film directing and producing. I got a job at the BBC and I trained in their training programs. And that's how I got involved in film and television.
So I was reading up on your history and I see that one of your first projects at BBC was for the Ebony TV Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time there was some things going on
in England.
Yeah, in England. Could you expand upon that?
Well, in the mid-80s, to go right back, immigration to the UK from the Caribbean started in the 40s and after the war, really, or began after the war. That was when a lot of people went to serve in the World War or went to England after the war. And more and more people went, and there was a lot of racism in England towards the Caribbean Black population. So by the mid 80s, there were a lot of riots in Black communities across, a lot of protests in Black communities across the UK, very much like what happened last year, right? Protesting against racism, against the conditions, systemic racism, and the conditions that a lot of Black Caribbean immigrants had to deal with in England. It was very, very racist. So there were all these protests across the country, and coming out of that period, the government and the country put in place a number of initiatives to create opportunities for Black and what they called BAME, Black and Asian and minority ethnic people. So the BBC created a program called Ebony, which was the BBC's first Black magazine program, and it covered current affairs from a Black perspective in England. So I was sort of part of that. I was hired at Ebony. I was a researcher and then reporter and so on.
Okay.
Academy of Motion Picture
Arts. How did you become a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts
and Sciences? Yeah. So, well, as you know, it seems ridiculous when I think about 25 years ago. There was this movement pretty much all over the West to create opportunities and a voice for minorities and Black voices and so on, and nothing happened. But now it's coming back and it's happening again, So about 5 years ago, you might remember 5-6 years ago, there was a lot of pushback in Hollywood again because the Academy, the Oscars Academy, which is the most important sort of industry organization in the world, because if you get an Oscar, pretty much your career is set. Do you know what I mean? Everybody wants to be nominated or get an Oscar, but the Oscar voting body was 98% white and 96% men and stuff like that. So there wasn't a lot of diversity, and so pretty much the only projects that got Oscars were white projects. So there was a huge uproar. A lot of Black producers and directors and actors in Hollywood, they created the hashtag Oscars So White. And you remember that? Yeah. And so the Academy decided to open up and create opportunities for people from different backgrounds to be members, to become voting members. And at that point, I was invited to join the Academy in the second year.
So I also saw you on Foxhole, and you had called out the industry for systemic racism. Did you get any backlash about that? You called out the actor.
Well, I'm sure the actor meant well. I'm sure he meant well. I feel like what needs to happen for change to come is for these organizations to have representation on their boards, representation on their judging panels, and to give awards where due to Black and minority people. Like, I'm just fed up of hearing white people, apologizing. Don't apologize. Just get off the stage. Get off the stage.
Yeah.
It angers me. It's like, it's just another, it feels to me like just another way for white people to continue owning the dialogue, is for them to stand there and apologize. It's like, remove yourself.
Yeah.
So, I just get very frustrated with all the different ways. Like, instead of creating change, they find ways of just continuing to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. So, for somebody like me who's been in the business for 35 years now and seen all the ups and downs, and it just gets tiring.
Yeah. When you came into the industry, did you have any trepidation about being a woman entering a male-dominated field in terms of behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know, because when you're young, you don't know really what you don't know, But certainly it has been a big obstacle to my career, especially not just as a woman, but as a woman of color. There has been there is a huge amount of prejudice and resistance to women of color having any place in the industry. So it's been extremely hard. But, those of us who survived just kept pushing. But I cannot tell a lie. It's very difficult.
Okay, because I seen they made a big deal about Halle Berry doing her first directing for the film Bruise. And
yes, that's right.
Our Woman on the soundtrack. And I thought it was kind of like, it should have been happening a long time ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
So could you tell us about some of your biggest projects, such as Hero, A Winter's Tale, Lord Have Mercy, and the Claudia biopic?
Not too long after that, my father abandoned all of me. 9 of us. My entire life seemed to change.
What's your name? Kofi Mensah. Kofi Mensah? Yeah, yes sir. Ulcric Cross.
Ever since I was a little boy, all I ever wanted to do was become a pilot. Flying Officer Ulcric Cross. And now I'm actually here at the area, signing up.
Let's just go and kill Hitler. I don't know why you came back to this country. There's nothing here for you. They've been using us. Their men died and they called us. You think they want us here?
Come, let's go. Help me leave England.
There's somebody that I want you to meet. This is Mr. C.L.I. James. Mr. George Padmore.
This young man, Ulcric Cross. We need him.
The CIA, the MI6, the intelligence services, you have to understand, building a movement is not easy, Mr. Cross.
Which one shall I start with?
I guess for those in Toronto, A Winter Tale was about Regent Park?
No, it was set in Parkdale.
Parkdale.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was set in Parkdale. Yeah, and it was about it was set in a Caribbean restaurant, and it was about a group of Caribbean men who come together to meet and talk about who they are and what they want to do following the shooting death of a young child in the neighborhood. So I really wanted to explore masculinity and how men can kind of deal with violence and grief in useful ways, or the different expressions of that. So,
okay.
Lord Have Mercy was set in a Caribbean church in Toronto, and it was about an older pastor played by Dennis Hall, Sprangalang. I don't know if you know who Sprangalang is. He just passed away this last year.
Yeah.
Very sad. But he's a Trinidad comic. So an older pastor played by Sprang, and his relationship with a new young pastor played by Arnold Pinnock, and the kind of conflicts they get into in the church. And we had an amazing cast of Caribbean and Canadian actors. So we had Russell Peters early on in his career playing one of the younger pastor's friends. And then we had, just a bunch of really great actors. Leonie Forbes playing the kind of church lady. She's a very well-known Jamaican actor. Claudia Jones was a Trinidadian woman who emigrated to the States when she was 9 years old. Her parents left Trinidad and moved to the States. They lived in Harlem. And then, and she was part of the Communist Party pre-civil rights in the 50s, right? So pre-civil rights, a lot of Black activists identified with and were part of the Communist Party because they supported civil rights and for Black people. Yeah. And so she was like this intersectional Black feminist way before that was like a thing. And then in the 50s, she was deported from the US by the McCarthy government because they were witch hunting activists. And she was deported to the UK and ended up in England, where she had a huge impact. She started the first Black newspaper, and she also started the Carnival there, the Trinidad. She imported the Trinidad Carnival and started what became known as the Notting Hill Carnival much, much later. So she was an incredible woman because she also suffered from a terrible heart problem. She had what ended up being a fatal heart disease. But despite that, she really fought for the kind of fledgling community in England at the time in the 50s to have a voice and a platform and to have a presence in England. She was amazing. So I really wanted to tell her story. Yeah.
And what about Hero?
Well, Hero was a very personal project. It was it's about a guy called Ulcric who left Trinidad when he was a young man, went to England to serve in the Second World War, was the most decorated West Indian in the Second World War. And then after the war, he was recruited by Kwame Nkrumah, who was the first Black African president of Ghana. He was recruited by Kwame Nkrumah to come to Ghana to help with what they called the reconstruction process. Ghana became independent in 1957. It was the first African country to become independent of British rule. And Kwame Nkrumah and a man called George Padmore, who was from Trinidad, they worked together to recruit people of African heritage from all over the world to come to Africa and help them, kind of reconstruct the country to create an independent country. Because up until then, it had been a colonial infrastructure, that served the British, but they wanted to create a constitution that served the people of Ghana. And so he was one of those lawyers, a number of lawyers who went to Ghana in the late 50s, early 60s to help with African independence. And after he was in Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah recommended him to go to Cameroon, where he worked with the president there to again write the constitution for the independent Cameroonian state. And then afterwards, Julius Nyerere invited him to come to Tanzania. So he was an incredible person, and he was one of several people who were part of that transformation process. And I just felt that this was a story that we as Caribbean people don't know. We don't know how many Caribbean people were recruited into the liberation movements in the 50s to go and, help with the reconstruction of Africa. And really, it's a very moving story, because we who came from the Caribbean, we were taken from Africa in chains. We left Africa in chains. You and me, our blood relatives, traveled on that journey, from Africa to the Caribbean. And we survived. Like, we're actually survivors of people who made that journey. And for us now, it's very important and moving for us to reclaim, our voice as African people from the continent, so it was an important story. Just coming out of the story that I just told, one of the most moving experiences, obviously, was we shot a scene in Cape Coast Castle, which is the slave castles on the shore, on the coast of Ghana. And, you've heard about those places, right?
Yes.
It's really disturbing. You go in and you can see where, these dark rooms where they kept all the slaves that they kidnapped. And then there's this, a door onto the shore, right, where the boats would come up. And it's called above the door, it says the door of no return.
Yes, I did.
Like, you're not coming back.
Yes.
So it's very, very moving. But what was great for us was actually being able to shoot in that location, actually make a movie there. And so we were able to say, yeah, you can't, we're here. Like, imagine that you did this to our people and we came back. Like, all of us here we were all from different places, we had people from the Caribbean, from England, from Ghana, and we're all there together making this film, telling our story. So it's like we survived. We survived and we're here to tell the tale. So that was very moving. For Hero, I got a number of awards. We just got the best feature film at the Belize International Film Festival. We got the African Movie Awards, best feature film. We got feature film from the Pan-African Film Festival, best feature. So those are the kinds of awards we've got for Hero. And yeah, I guess we've had our share of awards in the past for the work that we've done. I'm very grateful and pleased. More than that, it's really always gratifying for me to go to screenings of my films and really see how much audiences enjoy and appreciate the work, because Black people of Africa, our people love seeing, it's such a gift to see our stories on the screen. It doesn't happen that often. So people are very grateful and very appreciative and very, they see themselves in it. And it's very satisfying. Really, women of color are criminally underrepresented in the screen-based industries. In the most recent surveys that they've been doing, Black women of color make up, I don't know, I think it's 0.4% of the workforce in the screen-based industries in Canada. 0.4%. 0.4% of the workforce is women of color, right? So this is in a country where 30% of the population, at least 33% of the population is non-white, right? So at least 15% should be 15, 16, 17%. If you say, women are half the population, 15, 16, 17% should be women of color, but it's 0.4%. And that's solely based on gender and color, right? So for me, as a woman of color who has experienced that discrimination and exclusion all my career, right? And invisibility, it was really important to me to create a platform that would tell the stories, that would give a voice to the stories of women of color. Like, we have all kinds of stories to tell. We have a voice where, we are human beings, we live full lives. So it was and there's incredibly talented storytellers who are women of color. I'm proud to be a woman of color. I'm proud to say, this is my story, and this is my story as a woman and as a woman of Caribbean heritage, So it was very important for me to do that, and to also document all the women who are out there, because, you tell them, well, why are you not hiring women of color? And they say, I can't find them, which is so infuriating,
Yeah.
Where are they? I just don't know. I can't find any. So we wanted to say, create a database that showcased all the women of color that we could find in this country. So that anybody looking to hire women or to find out about women's stories and to hear about, to find us, it would be readily available. And that's why we created our database, our Cinefam database of women of color creators.
Okay, so how could people get in contact for that?
Yeah, so they should go to cinefam.ca, cinefam.ca, and then you can sign up there.
Okay.
I mean, one of the first women that had a huge impact on me was Leonie Forbes, who is a Jamaican actor and producer, and just an amazing person, talented, and an incredible person that I worked with for many, many years. And she's still here. So yeah. Leonie, big ups. And then, other women are Eugène Palsy. She's a director from Martinique, who was the first Black woman to direct a Hollywood movie, a Dry White Season. But she made this incredible film called Black Shack Alley or Sugarcane Alley, which was a French movie in the 80s. You should check it out. It's a fantastic movie set in Martinique. And then there's Julie Dash, who was the first woman to have a feature film distributed in the United States, which was a film called Daughters of the Dust. So she's an incredible woman also, who again, I'm proud to call my friend. And then finally, of course, more recently, but very importantly, is Ava DuVernay, who's an American director, Black woman, who's not only made fantastic movies that have been seminal in terms of the films that exist about Black and female experience, but she's also a trailblazer in terms of setting up a distribution company for films by other Black and female filmmakers. She has got, she's just done so much to help and kind of cut a path for other women. She's constantly, highlighting and spotlighting and calling out, calling out women so that people notice her. And because she has a voice and a profile, when she says XYZ, that person is noticed, but also she calls out racism constantly in the industry. One of the important things, one of the really nice things I saw that she did a few years ago, she started a TV series called Queen Sugar, which was on the OWN network, and she hired only women to direct, gave so many women their first TV directing job through that. And a lot of companies got where, no women were being hired in the industry. She said, all the directors I hire are going to be women. And she got a lot of flack for it. Like, people criticized her, the industry criticized her. How could she just give all the jobs to women? And she said, but you guys gave all the jobs to men all this time. If you have a problem with what I'm doing, then sue me. She said, go right ahead. I was like, nice. She said, so sue me. Go ahead, sue me. And I love that. She's not afraid, which, as you say, it is scary standing up. It is scary calling out injustice and The only way to change what happened, though. That's the only way change happens. It's the only way to change what happens. And she has not only called out, as I said, but she has been such a generous example to all of us. And I'm so grateful to her, for doing what she did, because she shows us all how it's done. I think the young women coming up now, they're in a great position to, you know, to break down the barriers at this point. You know, I feel like I'm always in awe when I meet young women now. I'm like, wow, you're so confident, you're so strong, and nobody's gonna stop you. So I guess the only thing I would say is good day, you know, really go for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very proud of the new generation coming up.